This show is brought to you by Go Live TV. Download the app now.
Hello, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining the Joe and Joe Show again. It's a beautiful Monday. We had a little bit of snow yesterday, but the trees were gorgeous, so I'm thankful for that. And listen, today we want to say thank you so much for joining our show again. The people who are going to our Facebook, who are liking and sharing, and all those beautiful, warm, loving comments, I appreciate so much, so thank you. And today, we have an amazing guest, Unstoppable Tracy. Oh my goodness.
Wow.
How do I start telling you who she is? She's gonna tell us, but I have a couple things that really resonated with me. She's unstoppable, Tracy. That's one. Everything goes out of the way because she has a strong faith and she's determined. And I think I have that in common with her when I met her last year, isn't it? But she has done amazing. Listen, she has climbed Himalayas mountains. Seriously, I don't know if I can even do a jump, but I'm learning from her, and she's gonna.
Girl, huh?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, and she's #1 international speaker. She had shared her stage with big people we know, John Travolta. She has been speaking around the world. Mel Gibson. I mean, I took a picture of her and I was sharing it on my Facebook, and I was like, hey, this is me and Unstoppable Tracy.
Yes.
So she has done so much, and she's an athlete. She has done so much, and she is an honored humanitarian, beautiful human being. She's funny. And I have one thing in common with you, Tracy. She loves her mom. And that's just wonderful.
Yes.
And I've met your mom. So there she is. She's going to talk to us about her.
Well, thank you, Joe.
Welcome to the show.
Oh, I'm so excited to be with fellow unstoppable Joe and Joe. How fun is that? These guys are so unstoppable, they duplicated. They said, forget it, world, you need two of us. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's wonderful. So Jocelyn, I think she had something she was reading from some of your beautiful information and videos, and she wanted to talk to you.
Conquer the impossible. My goodness, when I read it, and I said, I need to talk to you. Where do you get your strength? So you don't stop it, you just go, challenge yourself, just do it. Can you share with us what gave you the drive, the strength to say that and to do it and to tell the world about that? I would like to hear that from you, Tracy. Can you share that with us?
Absolutely.
Please.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
You know, I think I was so lucky to be born what I like to say as limitless. You know, and I spell limitless with a B, L-I-M-B, lim, itless. And it's not a very good joke when you have to spell it out.
You're smiling.
Yes, I'm
smiling.
And your sister's an easy laugh because similar humor with each other, right? It's so true. But the secret is that you are limitless too. But I had the bonus of realizing that if I wanted that cookie or if I wanted to play with others, that I had to do whatever it took in order to be there. And this was in business too. You know, people are, wow, you're impressive. Look at you walking in here so confidently, but I'm not so sure you're right for this job. Mm-hmm. And so the trick is being limitless allowed me to realize that no, N-O, just means K-N-O-W. They just don't know,
awesome.
right? And I got to learn that at 5, right? I got to learn when they said, oh, no, you can't come here, that I just, every time I hear that, it's, oh, they just don't know.
They don't know.
And say, can we just try for a week? And usually people will say yes to that counteroffer. Can we just try?
That's right.
And then you prove it. I remember a bunch of kids playing on a lawn next door and being sad on my front lawn. Mm-hmm. And Mom opens her door. And she says, what's wrong? And I said, well, they're all playing over there, and there's this gravel driveway, and I've got my legs off. And she says, well, how's that working for you? I'm like 4 or 5 years old, and I'm getting this tough love mom, my Liverpudlian mom. Yes, and she shut the door. She just walked away. And so I realized being sad on my lawn wasn't working for me.
No.
So I rolled down the lawn, And I found a skateboard. I like to say I borrowed. And I took my one long arm and I skateboarded over and I rolled up the hill to their lawn. And of course the kids were all kind of like, kind of in shock. But I spoke before they spoke. You know, before the bullies got scared, before the powerhouses in the business world have something to say. And you're just like, hi, I'm Tracy. Can I play? And they said, okay. They didn't know how. I didn't know how. But because I put it on the table. And, you know, whether we're playing on our street or whether we're playing with the big business folk and the entrepreneurs out there, we just need to invite ourselves to the table before anybody says no.
Exactly. No.
Beautiful attitude.
Yeah.
Like, you know what, there's something that you said in some of the beautiful, wonderful, I mean, you have a beautiful book, you're going to talk about that, and people need to know about it.
Thank you.
And you were saying that if you want, you can turn your ordinary day into extraordinary today.
Yes.
I mean, this show really is about living life with gratitude. And I think in all four domains of life, whether it's our health, our faith, our careers, businesses, family, in all those areas are so important. We need to pay attention and say, no, it doesn't matter how it seems impossible, but I'm gonna take that ordinary day and turn it into today is beautiful. Today I can do it, and I'm gonna move mountains. I'm gonna move roadblocks, and I think that's what you're doing. And I love that spirit, and a lot of us need to learn from you, learn from each other, and that's what this show is about. So we're so happy that you're telling us that story.
You know, sometimes we have those days. Have you guys ever had those days where you're sitting there and you end up crying because you're crying, right? Like it's not even about the thing anymore. Sometimes you even forget what it was about, but now you're upset. And I remember being in a parking lot after an extraordinary, I had 15 years as a consultant with Air Canada and Shoppers Drug Mart, and we were outperforming stock markets, we were busting bankruptcy, we were supporting mergers, and it was this fabulous career, and it was like my business family. And the contract had ended because they didn't need me anymore. Not because they fired me, but because I had successfully launched them into being independent. And I had a right to be sad that it was over.
Yep, it's normal.
But I also believe in what you focus on grows.
Absolutely.
And I didn't want to be focused on being sad and driving home. I thought I'm going to invite a car accident or do something because I'm focused on being sad.
Right.
And so I was trying to think, okay, what is going to cheer me up no matter what? And I thought of my niece and nephew, who I love, but I was still sad that the contract was ended.
Yeah.
And I knew another one was around the corner. When Air Canada was over, I found Shoppers Drug Mart, and I knew. And when Shoppers Drug Mart was over, I found Uber.
A door closes, another one opens.
I knew this, but in the moment at 11:30, I was just sad about this particular day.
Yep.
So I Googled, okay, what's going to make me happy no matter what? And it was sailing.
Oh.
And it's October, and there isn't a lot of sailing or skiing in Toronto in October. And so there was one in San Diego. There was a sailing regatta, a sailing race, sailing event. And so 11:30 in the morning, I'm saying goodbye to my business family. Well done, you're outperforming the stock market. You don't need me anymore. And at 5:30 that night, I was on a plane to San Diego.
Oh my goodness.
For a sailing regatta, for a pick-me-up, because what you focus on grows.
Absolutely.
What a great choice. It's about a choice we make.
It's about a
And
choice.
how we respond to. I mean, if we're reactive people to everything, I mean, you're not going to survive by noon. But if you think about it and respond like you're doing, you say, this is not working, this is not working. One door might be closed, but maybe it's an opportunity that I'm being released to my destiny.
And that's what happened. I go there, I do the regatta, the race. I'm not a racer. And there are North American racers. There's a sailor from Australia that had come for this race. So this was a pretty significant race with lots of people there. And the first race, the Monday morning, I got a bullet. And a bullet is scary for people in our lives that have lived in some pretty scary countries or in your own homes.
Absolutely.
But in sailing, that means first place. I got a first place.
Ooh, nice.
So I was awoken with the vim and vigor of maybe pursuing Paralympic dreams. And when I was flying home, it was during Hurricane Sandy, and it devastated New York. It had flooded the subways. Many homes were lost.
Oh my goodness.
And the turbulence was extraordinary, and I thought I was going to die. And because I was in this moment of potentially dying, I, of course, go to faith and I
Yes.
say, Lord, if I live, I want to pursue my Paralympic dream.
Oh my goodness, awesome.
And the plane went dead still. All of the turbulence stopped, and we landed super smoothly.
Wow.
And you can make that mean whatever you want, right?
Yep.
But I made that mean that I'm to pursue my Paralympic dream.
Yes.
And I ended up becoming a World Cup sailor. So yes, I made it to Paralympic trials, but World Cup with able-bodied men, gigantic Viking, 27 men in Australia, 3 ladies, and they all had their hands and their feet. And I was a World Cup sailor.
Can I call you crazy?
Yes. In the most positive sense of the word.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Yes.
Do the impossible. I think some people, they think you're crazy.
Yeah.
But you're not.
Crazy good.
Crazy
Yeah,
good. I had to
absolutely.
sleep in cars. I had to
Yeah.
wash boats for 3 months before anybody would let me go anywhere near it.
Yeah.
You know, the coaches all thought I was out of my rocker. And they all thought, you know, this is a woman's sport. This is a male-dominated sport, not a woman's sport. And the people with disabilities, they're missing their thumb, they're missing their foot. Mm-hmm. I call those paper cuts.
Using what you have,
Yes.
the resources, what you've been given. If you
Yes.
can manage it and you use it to your best ability,
Yes.
and then listen, even when the greater things come, you're gonna know how to manage it.
Yes.
Less, more, it doesn't matter. You're not stopping to move forward and to impact yourself and others. And I
Yes.
think that's what it's all
And
about.
no matter how many months it takes.
That's incredible. Wow, I love it. I love it.
That's amazing.
By the way, I know you posted a picture on your Facebook, Unstoppable Tracy. If you want to follow her, love her, share her stories and her awesome stuff. I love the bling bling.
Thank you.
Oh,
Thank
those
you.
are so
gorgeous.
cute.
Isn't that great?
They are gorgeous.
Several involved with it all. You know, a girl's got to have matching, and so my ankles don't match. So I ended up with some bling.
Keep
Yeah,
style.
creativity. Oh my gosh, I love it. And you know, I was reading your story, and you were with CTV, the emergency responders. You were celebrating with them.
Yes.
It's awesome to see you in that costume. Oh my goodness, that was wonderful.
Isn't that fun? So I visited the emergency responders to say thank you in Northumberland County.
It's wonderful.
7 municipalities, and I've done it with OPP and local firefighters as well. You want to make sure you make a difference to those that are making a difference to our lives every day. And Joe are making a difference internationally around the world, particularly in Rwanda. But they make a difference with all ages across Canada and around the world. And so I love to do like you do with the emergency responders.
Oh,
And
that's
they
wonderful.
made a joke about, well, we've got our 100-foot ladder, and they have this simulation tunnel where they've created a caved-in roof with all of the wires and lines that would get mangled. And when you go into a fire, woo, I'm so unstoppable. I lost my earring.
Oh, nothing stops us. Let's
Nothing
keep going,
stops
baby.
us. They're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
you're talking fire, I'm getting out of here. Even my earrings can't take the heat.
I love it. I
Right?
love it. Yeah.
And so they have this simulation where the roof is caved in, and you're wearing an oxygen tank, which is just as heavy as when I'm an advanced scuba diver.
Wow.
And so, you know, you've got 80-pound tank on your back. And so they dressed me up as a firefighter in all the hot gear, and they put me in this tunnel where I had to crawl on my back with the tank, breathing the oxygen.
Oh, that is
To
incredible.
get through a caved-in roof.
Wow.
And apparently I did just as good as their high performers that have had lots of practice.
Yes,
They said all the
absolutely.
new recruits are always breathing heavy, and they said you were calm and cool and you didn't get tangled. And they said, well, we don't know how you're going to do it without your legs, but let's just try, right? And they said my time, first try, matched the seasoned veterans.
Oh, yeah, that's awesome.
And
Yeah.
that's what you do in business too.
Absolutely.
Right? Or fundraising for others. You know, people say no all the time. Say, how do you know unless you try? And you just go for it. You know, I remember skiing. People who downhill ski, they use a sit ski when they have paralysis or missing their legs. But because I'm missing my hands, the outriggers weren't working. And so without outriggers, how am I going to ski? We're not going to figure that out on a couch at home. We're not going to figure that out Googling. You got to go for it.
Absolutely.
And so who you surround yourself with. I surround myself with go-getters like Joe and Joe, right? Who make it mean something. As difference makers, you guys make it work. And so I surrounded myself with make it work people. And I went to the ski hill having no idea how I would ski. And what's really cool, the reason this story came up was one of the firefighters in the audience. Now he's in his late 20s with 2 little girls.
Oh, wow.
But when he was a teenager, he was a volunteer ski instructor. And he was there. And he was with me when I kept wiping out face planting with this sit ski. And he said, "Are you ready to go in?" And you always kept saying, "Let's try again."
Always
He
ready
said,
to
and
go.
then you'd face plant again and you'd say, "Let's try again."
Do it. Let's do it.
And then we went in for lunch, and their boots were off, and he had size 12 feet.
Oh,
And I'm thinking, well, my thighs, with my legs off, could fit in his gigantic ski boots, just like a random teenager thought. And what we did is we took my legs off, and we put my thighs, my stumps, in men's ski boots backwards.
my
I have no toes, and by putting the boots backwards, it put me in the skier's tuck position. And how does this translate to business or fundraising or making a difference for others anywhere in the world? Is even if you don't know how, you embrace the possibility you can do it.
Absolutely.
And even though you don't know how, you go for it.
Yes.
And maybe there's face plants.
Can learn.
But you get back and you figure out and you
You
find
can
your backwards boot
Learn.
solutions.
Absolutely.
But you figure it out with the people you surround yourself with. You surround yourself every other week with Joe and Joe. They can't do people.
Energy, positive energy.
Positive
And I
energy.
think that's wonderful. Speaking about that already, I was reading many, many books which they talk about, to live, to love, to learn, and leave a legacy. You are an honored humanitarian, and I know your heart. And I think what we're talking about, living life with gratitude on the Joe and Joe show, I really believe giving, serving comes from a place of gratitude. And I think you're living that.
Yes.
And speaking about that, I was telling you about a little girl that is among other many children that Jocelyn and I work with in Rwanda, and her name is Esther. And it just, the story of Esther and how she relates, who she wants to be, and she shows us all that there is no limit as long as we want to do it, we're determined, and with a little bit of faith, like you said. Jocelyn was talking to me about the story about Esther. It's incredible.
Tell me about Esther.
2013, I was in Rwanda.
Okay.
And I visited our office where shelter them workers and everyday work are. And sure enough, I went on the back of the office and talking to the girl who cleans up the office. And she said, I have a sister and she has a little girl. Do you want to come see her? And I said, sure. And this little girl, she was about 6 months, with no legs and her arms. She has maybe one thumb, right? Yeah. And she was right there, and she was a little bit terrified because I was trying to hold her, and I said, "Who is this little girl?" And I said, "It's Esther." And her mom, she is a genocide survivor.
Genocide against Tutsi.
Genocide against Tutsi in 1994. Of course, a lot of people know what happened, and that's a long story, but very, very devastating.
Yeah, we're going to talk
As a
about it in
nation
April,
in
actually,
Rwanda.
as part of our campaign that's coming up for 100 Days
Oh,
Change.
yes, absolutely. So here she is, and she said, I am an orphan, the mother of Esther, and I don't know what to do. I don't have education. I don't have money for my little girl. And I said, you know what? I will go back to Canada, and we'll talk to our friends and see what we can do for your little girl. So within a few months, we did find sponsors for Esther.
Yes.
She has all sponsors.
Golu is one of them.
Golu,
She
my
knows.
good friend, I know you. You're looking,
Golu,
yeah,
yeah,
beautiful
she
girl.
knows.
I worked with her in 2001 when I worked with insurance company. So sure enough, she has sponsors. Now the little girl, she is doing great. She wants to be a fashionista, a model.
Yeah.
Oh, she's always. What do you
There's
say?
no limit.
In her African pattern dresses, she's always looking
Posing?
confident and.
Yeah.
That's the life that I see. I see her as a beautiful woman.
Unstoppable.
Unstoppable.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter where she's at, what's happening. She just have that beautiful spirit, and I know she's going to be successful. She's going to do it. Nothing is going to stop her.
We can do it.
Right?
We can do it. And we had nothing. We're born with nothing, and we're here. But we're saying, it doesn't matter what's in the way, as long as we want to move forward and thinking about us, thinking about others. And again, it could be in all the 4 domains of life, whether it's business and family, your social life, everything that just move forward and make a difference in your life and others. And I think that's what all about.
And I think give an opportunity too.
Yeah.
Give a hand. It's not that you can't, but just give a little hand. As you're you encourage people, you motivate people.
Yeah.
Do you know there are people out there that will be sitting and not seeing tomorrow? And for you speaking to them, encouraging them, and they will get that person up and get up and then find yourself and do it.
Yes.
Let's share that.
This is making me think of climbing in the Himalayas and seeing children there as well, amputees, and what difference can they make without the awareness and the legislation and the technology and some of the blessings that we have here in Canada. And so it's incredible that you found a resource for Esther, and that of course she's going to be a model. And I had no idea that I would climb the Himalayas.
No.
And I remember rappelling off of a cliff. And I remember hanging off the line. I was scaling, and my stumps, my knees had just left the edge. Some people think that climbing up is scarier, but actually rappelling down is scarier.
Yeah.
And I remember when my stumps cliff left the edge of the cliff, and I froze there in silence, like I just right? And I felt the presence of how high I was, and I remember in that moment feeling all alone. Nobody left or right of me. I'm hanging out on this cliff, and sometimes you guys are out there feeling all alone yourselves.
Yes. Yep.
And there doesn't look like anybody's around you. And then all of a sudden, this voice from above says, "Tracy." And then they say, "Are you on the ground?" And I'm thinking, no, I'm not on the ground. And I'm in the middle of petrified stone still, right? And then I realized I'm not alone.
No.
There's somebody on my lifeline. There's somebody at the other end of my
Absolutely.
safety line.
Yes.
And I feel like I'm all alone out there, but I wasn't. And as soon as I knew that someone was on my lifeline, somebody had my back, I could do it.
I could do it.
And I
Absolutely.
did do it. And I thought that maybe they were lowering me down, but because I'd stopped, I realized I was doing it.
Yes.
But they had my back. And so it's the JoJos of the world that have my back and have your back and have each other's back. And so who you surround yourself with is who you become.
Absolutely.
And so Esther I got to feel that fierce
Yeah.
independence, that anything is possible. And I had no idea how that day would roll out. But because there was a lifeline. And so who you surround yourself with is who you become.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think, that's wonderful. And that's what we're talking about in the stories of Esther and you and our story. And we can relate to so many people who are sitting home watching our shows.
Yeah.
They're going through difficult times or they feel alone. But you, like you said, you motivated yourself by looking at your cousins or your niece or your family, your coworkers. There's also always something that you can look at that will help you to lift yourself up and not stay where you're at. And again, that's the whole thing about making choices as well.
Yeah.
And not feel alone, because there's so many great people out there like you, like me. Come and
Yes.
join us. Send us a comment. Tell us how you feel. We'll
Yes.
send you an email. Unstoppable Tracy as well. She has a book as well. I think
They
you
do.
can talk about that as well, Tracy.
Well, and it's called Unstoppable You. Unstoppable You instead of Unstoppable Tracy.
Absolutely.
And there's stories about growing up with a disability and skiing and sailing and then also the Air Canada and Shoppers Drug Mart and Himalayas and learning to drive with no hands and no legs, all of these things. But the end of each story is some coaching questions.
Yes.
Like what works, what doesn't, what's ahead for you.
Yes.
And so Unstoppable You is the limitless secret, is the second title. And then the third one is Exceed Uncertainty. And we talked about that on the show today. Exceed uncertainty. Feeling uncertain is no excuse for inaction.
Yes,
when you
absolutely.
fall down. You're afraid, but you do it anyway.
That's right.
And you
Break the fear.
embrace possibility.
Yes.
Even though you don't know how, you embrace the possibility you can do it. So exceed uncertainty, embrace possibility, and earn independence.
Oh my goodness, I love that.
And the earn independence is who you surround yourself with.
Like, remember I was talking to you, I'm like, oh my gosh, I made a mistake in my English is sometimes, I speak other languages, by the way, and I'm like, did I say interdependent? And you were telling me about it. I'm like, yeah, like you are independent, I'm independent, we're dependent on each other, we're interdependent. And that is, I love the way you said it. And like you said, I think to be aware, acknowledge, accept and embrace, it allows you to move forward, and that's the secret. And talking about us, our hearts to give and to help others, that comes to shelter them as well. Visit our website, shelterthem.com, and again, our show is about sharing stories of goodness and encouraging people, business, family, social life, and then go beyond that while we're growing and help others through Shelter Them, which you can have the website. We're going to have a campaign. It's called Hearts for Rwanda. If you can visit our website, participate. It's about $1, $2, whatever you can donate to help people in Rwanda. And like Esther, we have many of them. And visit our page, The Joe and Joe Show. I think I was making a mistake earlier. I don't want to do that. Tell us send us your comments. Visit Unstoppable Tracy page, her website and books and everything. Show her some love. And all together, like I say, surround yourself with positive people, mind-forward, mind-like people, so you can grow, you can change, help others, and live interdependently. And it's a beautiful world. I think Joe has maybe something to say?
I'm actually overwhelmed. This was a beautiful day. It's just to you have a full of life, beautiful words, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And this is what it's all about. Just to be, once you have figured out something good, and then you want to share with others. And I feel that spirit from you and our viewers.
Yes.
This is what it's all about. It's sharing with you, being there for one another, and in different ways, either financial, money support, the words from our mouth, they're very powerful.
Absolutely.
Stories brings healing, encouraging,
Yeah.
and this is all it's all about. Let's give last word, Tracy, and we love you very much. And this is
It's so true. And we all have a good reason. Like being refugees, or having no money, or being in a rough place in life, or wondering, well, I'm a woman in a man's world, or I'm too tall or too short, or I'm black or I'm white, or I have a disability or I don't. And the point is, if we have a good excuse, sometimes it keeps us on our chairs and our couches.
Yep.
But when you live a life of no excuses, you have no limits.
Absolutely.
So it's a little bit of tough love. No excuses, but no limits.
Absolutely. Keep moving forward like frogs. They only hop forward. So thank you, our viewers.
Thank you.
Comments, they mean a lot to us. Go to The Joe and Joe Show on Facebook. Go to our website. Donate. Participate in our campaign for Rwanda. Our show is every 2 weeks on April the 15th. Keep watching, and we love you. And let's be grateful every day.
let's do that. Thank you.